It's time for the latest Ubuntu release. This is the April 2022 release known as Jammy Jellyfish. After the problems I had with my previous upgrade, I was a little worried, but it went fairly well. This is a long-term support release, and I was already running the latest non-LTS version, which means I've already gone through some of the latest changes, but I'll still cover some of these and some possible problems and ways to fix them. Some of the things I'll be covering. I was prompted for the upgrade this time. So one of the earlier upgrades was delayed due to technical issues that affected a few computers. And this one I was notified about a week after the release that it was ready to upgrade. I ran the upgrade, no major problems. Some intervention was required. It was fairly straightforward, but it did result in some delays, and I'll talk about that in a bit. I did have to reinstall the Displaylink drivers, which was fairly straightforward. If you're only using the LTS versions, then this may be the first time you've experienced Wayland. I'll give my thoughts on Wayland versus x.org. I'll mention about the changes to Firefox, now it uses Snap. And then I'll cover some of the new features. There's some nice new features in there, although if you're already on 21.10, there's not much here that I've found so far, but a couple of nice little things. So the upgrade was fairly straightforward, but it did take a long time to go through. This was something I expected, so I ran the upgrade overnight. The problem is that halfway through there was a pop-up information box to explain about Firefox moving to Snap. This was unnecessary as I was already running 21.10, which already used Snap for Firefox. The frustrating thing is why this would halt the upgrade and why it couldn't have been at least moved to the end of the upgrade process so it didn't delay the upgrade. But as a result, there was still about 2 or 3 hours after I'd left the upgrade running overnight before I could use it later that day. I didn't experience any problems with the upgrade, whereas I did before on my previous version where I had an interrupted install. I've created a video about that, so if you do experience that with this upgrade, there is a potential fix. I know a few people have commented on how useful it is knowing about that because it was able to get them out of a bit of a hole. So I'll leave a link to that in the description and you can go and have a look at that. The computer that I've just upgraded is a laptop, but I connect this to an external screen using a USB-C connection. And this uses Displaylink, which needs proprietary drivers. I've already explained the process of installing this in my earlier video on 21.04, and I'll put a link in the description and I'll put up in the top corner as well. Because this was already set up using the open source video drivers, then it was just a case of downloading and running the driver installer again. When you download it, it says for version 20.04. There is a new one for 22.04, but that worked fine. And if you want more details of that, go and have a look at my earlier video and it goes through it step by step, the whole install process. Ubuntu now defaults to Wayland as a replacement for x.org. Wayland has some advantages in terms of cleaner code and performance fixes, but there are some applications and services that won't work with it. In my case, the killer feature that I use is my screen capture program called Simple Screen Capture, which is what I'm using to record this. In future, I expect I'll find an alternative, but I rely on that quite a bit at the moment. So until I've found another tool that I can use instead, I'm switching to x.org. And you can do that quite simply from the login page. Just click on the bottom right hand corner and you can choose x.org instead of Wayland. I said before that Firefox is now installed through Snap instead of through the traditional apt package manager. And Snap is a new way of bundling an application and its libraries so it will work across different distributions. It sounds great in theory, but in reality it has serious performance issues. Firefox runs okay once launched, but the startup time is abysmal. When I launched Firefox, it takes approximately 5.5 minutes to start, compared to Chrome, which loads in nearer 30 seconds. And this is just unacceptable. It's just too long when you want to just get your browser up and do something. And because of that, I've already switched my primary browser to Chrome. Whatever the reason behind changing to using Snap, I don't think this was a good move for Firefox. It is possible to uninstall the Snap version and install an alternative, but for me, I thought it was just easier just to move to Chrome browser instead. An obvious difference is the new logo, which is visible during boot. It's a bit odd with the logo being taller than the text, but it does look quite professional. It's up at the top left hand of this video, and you saw the full version with the text on the first screen. And here you can see it on the About page here with the text as well. The changes to the visual experience are mainly due to an upgrade of GNOME to version 3.42, and it looks great. It includes some new features and some additional settings. Here you can see the appearance settings and some of the ways that the dock can be configured, with options to reduce the size of the dock so that it no longer takes up the full height of the screen. If you have multiple screens, you can choose the screen to show the dock and choose whether it's on one or multiple screens, as well as the option to auto hide the dock, which has always been there. Although being able to shrink this dock down, it's only a small change, it actually looks really quite nice, and I think that's quite a nice little upgrade. There's also a new text editor. It looks very minimalistic, and to be honest, I hardly use the default text editor, so it's not a feature I'm particularly interested in, but that is one of the things they have changed in that new version. And then the final thing I'll cover is the new screenshot and video capture tool. This is actually a really nice new feature. It's configured for the print screen button, so just press that and you can take a quick screenshot or switch to video capture mode. The screenshot is really good and handles multiple screens, allows you to choose which screen you want to capture, which is better than the tool I had before, which would capture both and you'd have to trim it down just to get the one screen you wanted. The image is then saved to a screenshot folder as well as copied to the clipboard, so you don't have to manually choose to do that either. The video capture tool isn't quite as useful. There doesn't appear to be any way to change the codecs and quality, and no way to capture audio with it. So even though I use an external audio recorder, I rely on the screen capture to capture the audio so that I can sync between the external audio and get the timing right. So whilst I'll be using the image capture probably on a regular basis, I won't be switching to using it for the video. But hopefully that'll get an upgrade in future. It'd be great to see that expand as a more useful tool, and that could be a good alternative to the simple screen recorder that I use at the moment. Summary, I mean, for this upgrade it went smoothly. I didn't have any problems with the upgrade. If you're already running version 21.10, then the changes are only quite small, but there's some nice features, especially the new screenshot tool. If you're interested in Linux, then you may also be interested in my new channel, Penguin Fortress. It's based on cybersecurity, but a lot of it is focused on Linux in that as well. Please click on the video or playlist here to see more on that channel. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in a future video.